So what's up guys, I am Black Ops Amazing, welcome back to another zombies video on the channel, another Q&A, the series where we take your questions from the comment section below to do with the zombie storyline, Easter eggs and answer them. As always, if you enjoyed today's video, a like rating would be appreciated. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest videos on the channel, but let's get into it, here we go. So the first question of the day from Russ Ellis says, what is factions and where is it? So, very good question. Factions in zombies was something that was supposed to be in Black Ops 4 a very long time ago. Still to this day, I think it's like 9 months or 8, whatever it is, since Black Ops 4 launched. Yeah, this feature still isn't in the game. I mean, it doesn't really surprise me, things being promised in a Call of Duty game, and then either coming in very late, or not at all. You know what, I wouldn't be surprised if this never made it into the game, but what is factions? Well, personally, I haven't been staying up to date with it as a lot of other people have. As you know, I am a storyline person in terms of actual gameplay. With the features and game modes, it doesn't really bother me too much. Things like the gauntlets, the elixirs, as you say in this, factions. If it doesn't have a big implication on the storyline, then for me I'm not too fussed, but as I'm sure you would have seen on YouTube, a ton of people were making videos complaining that still months later factions isn't in the game when it was promised. But even before Black Ops 4 was released, Jason Blundell and Craig Houston came out and told us what factions are going to be. They said, factions in BO4 Zombies will be complete with their own quests and narratives. The factions will add another dimension to the story as a player chooses to side with either the Bloodfaith, Tempest Novi, Dustborn or the First Legion. And so you will decide who you stand with and understand what it means as you progress along that path. And that's all we pretty much know about this feature, to be honest. Even though I haven't been taking too much notice of it, it does sound interesting, and it also sounds like it has some story implication in there. I'm not too sure how important it's going to be, or if it's canon with the story. Maybe it's kind of like a side thing, I'm not too sure. But it was pretty much supposed to be in the game at launch. It wasn't, it was then pulled back to a later date. They then said they planned to launch it with the Spectre Rising operation, but as you see, that never happened. So where is it? They haven't spoken about it again. And as a lot of people are saying, Kotaku actually did a really good article on this, bringing it up because obviously Zombies isn't as big as the multiplayer or Blackout. It has definitely gotten bigger over the years, but as we see with something like this, missing a feature that's supposed to be a big part of it, clearly it's not as important to Activision or Treyarch as we thought. It's kind of still like that game mode on the side, which there's nothing wrong with that. That's always what Zombies has been and what made it special. But if you're promising to put something as big as this in the game, it sounds interesting to me. It sounds like it would make a massive difference to Zombies because a lot of people are complaining that there's just no content for BO4 Zombies. Personally, I don't understand it. There's a lot more in this game than there has been in previous ones. As I just said, Zombies has never been as big as multiplayer or Battle Royale. And of course, there's a lot of problems with it, but we have had quite a lot of content. We had 4 maps at launch, so that's something I don't understand. But as everyone's saying, factions at this point really could be anything. We've had that brief description, but it's nothing. It really doesn't tell us what exactly it is. Let me know in the comment section below if you play Black Ops 4 Zombies, and if so, how often? Or do you go back to play BO3, 2, 1, maybe even World at War? Or do you even play it at all anymore? Maybe you're just interested in the storyline. Honestly, I really cannot wait for the next 2 Ether maps, DLC 3 and 4. The story is getting very, very juicy, so I can't wait to see where it goes. I believe DLC 3 is supposed to be releasing in July, so I'm super excited for that. As for the Chaos story, it has gotten a lot better with the most recent map, Ancient Evil, but obviously for me at least, it's nowhere near the Ether storyline. I really don't want Ether to end. I hope in some way they could carry it on, maybe like the Modern Warfare series, they could do a reboot or something. But yeah, that is factions. As for where it is, well, you know what, it could come anytime or never at all. I don't know. Rage V says, this is just a theory, but I think one of the Primis or Ultimus members may have to sacrifice themselves to finally defeat Dr. Monty. And I wanted to answer this because I was thinking the same thing. Just how we've already seen in Blood of the Dead, Primis Richtofen had to sacrifice himself in order to break the cycle. It could be that the rest of the Primis characters and Ultimus have to sacrifice themselves to take down Monty. We don't actually know how you can kill Dr. Monty. We don't know if he can be killed. He is supposed to be this powerful god, so you would think someone like him isn't easy to take down. In Revelations, it was difficult enough to defeat the Shadow Man using the help of Maxis and Sophia, the Canorium and the might of Primis. It was hard enough to defeat him, but it was doable. But we don't know how powerful Monty really is. He's never actually really shown us his powers. The only thing he's shown us is that he can move and teleport things like the Pack-a-Punch, the perks, the mystery box. He can create weapons out of nothing, for example the chalk drawings on the wall, but we've never seen in terms of fighting what he can actually do. Does he have any powers that we don't know of? Just like the Shadow Man can turn into an alien or his apothecary form, can Dr. Monty turn into something else? As I said in one of my previous videos, the Shadow Man told us that Dr. Monty is actually the devil, so maybe his second form is something that resembles Satan. Could he breathe fire or something? I don't know. But we have been told by himself that he is very powerful, and so you would think it's not going to be as easy as it was with the Shadow Man to take down Dr. Monty, and that could mean that Primis and Ultimus might have to sacrifice themselves. Possibly that's the only way to defeat him. We don't know why Dr. Monty wants to keep the cycle going. We don't know why he doesn't want it to go on past Revelations, but I had a guess that maybe in the future Monty ends up dying, and so in order for him to stay alive, he needs to keep the cycle on loop to make sure it resets at a certain point. If it goes past, or the cycle is broken and future events change, maybe what happened is Dr. Monty ends up dying. Possibly he foresaw that in the future, or it did actually happen, and so as I said, he managed to create this loop, which means as long as it keeps replaying over and over again, it means that Monty will keep on living. And I also thought, and this was also kind of told to us by the Shadow Man, he said that Primis died a long time ago. Now yes, we have seen them die many times before in the Gored Kurovi trailer or the Zetsubo no Shima one, but the way the Shadow Man said they died a very long time ago makes it sound like he's talking about a specific point, and the only event that happened a long time ago that we know of was the Great War in the 1300s. Up until then, the Primis characters have only existed from like, I don't know, 1900. To me, it sounds like the Shadow Man was talking about an event that happened way before then, and that must have been the Great War. So possibly Primis did die during the Great War or just after it. We aren't sure. We don't know what happened to Primis after that event. We don't know where they went. They just went missing, and then apparently hundreds of years later in 1918 they appear again in Origins, so there's like a 600-year gap between the Great War and Origins. But getting back to the original question, will Primis and Ultimus have to sacrifice themselves to defeat Dr. Monty? Well, there's obviously a reason why Dr. Monty wants to keep the Primis characters alive. There's a reason why he wants to keep them in this loop, and I'm thinking that at one point in time Primis ended up dying. This linked into Monty in some way. Because Primis died, Monty died. Maybe they are essential for him to keep on living. If Richtofen, Takeo, Nikolai and Dempsey die, that means Dr. Monty dies. They are linked in some way, and so to stop that happening, Dr. Monty set up this cycle to make sure that Primis never die, which means that Monty lives forever, or as long as they're alive. And so maybe the Primis and Ultimus characters will realise that and discover that the only way to kill Monty is for them to sacrifice themselves. If they die, he dies. I don't know, but that definitely would be an interesting way of looking at it. It'd be a pretty sad ending to the Ether storyline if that was the case, but nevertheless, in my opinion, that would be an interesting scenario. I mean, they're gonna end this storyline in some way, and for all of the characters to die, well, that could be one. But of course that one is just a theory, so let me know your ideas in the comment section below. The next question of the day from Sam Fleming says, BOA, how come there are elixirs in the Ether story? I thought they were made by Shaw in the Chaos story. Well, yes, you are correct. In the Chaos story, it is revealed to us, Shaw actually says in-game that he created the elixirs as a means to help his friends in the battle, but that doesn't quite make sense because we've been told plenty of times by Jason Blundell that the storyline between Ether and Chaos are not connected. Yet something that is made by Shaw in the Chaos storyline we can use in the Ether story. It is unknown as to why the elixirs are part of Ether. I guess it kind of makes sense as to why there's no gobblegums in BO4, since we are now going off to kill Dr. Monty, and he is the one who gives us the gobblegum machine. In Blood of the Dead and Classified, we have broken the cycle, and we are now going to kill him. It wouldn't make sense to me for Dr. Monty to continue giving us his gobblegums. That would effectively be him killing himself. Why would he aid our characters when we are going to kill him? So you could say it makes sense why we don't have the gobblegum anymore, but why it's replaced by elixirs is unknown, because we are told by Shaw that he made them. That's in the Chaos story, yet they appear in Ether, and these stories are not connected. But that isn't the only thing. We also see other features shared between these two worlds, such as the perk machines. Again, in Blood of the Dead and Classified, we have new perk machines. We see these same ones in the Chaos story. We don't have an explanation for these either. So what's going on? Where do these new perk machines come from? Again, it makes sense. We know Dr. Monty gave us the old ones, so you would think he wouldn't be supplying our characters with them now that we're going to take him down, but it still doesn't explain where these new ones come from and why we see them in both storylines if they're not connected. It is just another one of the many questions that we don't have answers for, and unfortunately, I don't know. It's weird. So anyway, guys, there we go. That is all I have for you for today's video. As always, hopefully you have enjoyed. If you have, you know what to do. Drop a like rating if you want to. If not, it's totally fine. Thank you for watching anyway. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest videos on the channel. And until next time, goodbye.